Hey everyone, it's Dr. Hayes, and in today's video I'm going to be telling you about my favourite Romantasy series that I feel no one ever talks about. Like, I can count on one hand the amount of times I've heard it spoken about online, and that is zero. Because no one does. And this video is like why you should totally read it, because it's so good. And like, okay, maybe other people have mentioned this series, but personally, like, I do watch like a lot of book content. I've never seen anyone mention this series. Like, I do think this series, because I never see anyone talk about it, is criminally underrated, and I don't mean that as an exaggeration. And that is, of course, the Graceling Realm series by Kristin Cashore. And can we please just first of all take a moment to appreciate the covers, because oh my god. So we have Graceling, then Fire, Bitter Blue, Winterkeep, and Sea Sparrow. And just all of them are absolutely stunning, oh my god. And actually I don't believe these were the original covers they were published with, but they're so stunning. I'm so glad they changed them, and actually this is this is the reason I bought the book, the first one, because of how absolutely beautiful it is. Because I do very much ignore the phrase don't judge a book by its cover. I always judge a book by its cover. I didn't read Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus for ages because I was like, that's ugly. And it still is ugly, to be fair, but it's also one of my favourite books of all time. So when I bought Graceling, the first one, my baby, I was in the middle of my PhD, and my PhD is in science fiction, not fantasy, which this is. So it wasn't a book I needed to read or really had time to read, but I was like, I need a break. I didn't have time for a break. I was so busy. If you're doing a PhD yourself, if you're done one, you don't know how much work goes into one. But I was like, if I have to read one more book by Haruki Murakami, my PhD was also about Japan, then I will have some kind of breakdown, and that wasn't an exaggeration either. Like, I just need something that isn't science fiction, that isn't from a Japanese author, and I was in Waterstones with my family, and I saw Graceling, and it was like, I don't know if other bookshops do this in other countries, but so like most of the books are like this, so you can see all the spines, but then occasionally in Waterstones there'll be one facing outwards, like this. I don't know how they decide. I've never worked at Waterstones. If you do, tell me. How do you decide which one on the shelf gets to face outward that day or whatever? But so the rest of the books were like this, and Graceling was there, and I just walked past and I saw it, and I was like, you're coming home with me. And your next question is probably going to be like, okay, well, Hayes, I'm British, I've been in Waterstones before. Fantasy and sci-fi are all smushed together in one section. How did you know this wasn't sci-fi when you picked it up? Honestly, I feel when I go in this fantasy and sci-fi section, not even from just the covers, but from the titles, like 98% of the time I can work out just from looking at the title alone if that's a fantasy book or a sci-fi book. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can just tell, like, by the kinds of titles. Like, I would never expect a sci-fi book called Graceling, or actually any of these, you know what I mean? But like, the vibes. So I knew it wasn't sci-fi, and I just picked it up and bought it. I didn't even read the blurb. I saw the cover, grabbed it, took it to the till, went home. Did not read the blurb. I was so stressed, and I needed to feel something other than my hatred for Haruki Murakami. And I absolutely fell in love with this. It was amazing. Like, as soon as I got home I started reading it, and the week after I went out and I picked up Fire, which is a sequel, and I was so addicted to it, right? Me and my mum, we went out together, but she needed to go drop one of my brothers off at first, so she was like, just go and wait in the supermarket, the grocery store, and I'll come and get you in like 10 minutes. So I did. I had this in my bag. I always have a book with me, because you never know when a reading opportunity will arise. So I was like, okay, fine. Went in the supermarket, and I don't know what supermarkets are like where you're from, but they usually have a clothes, shoe section. So I was like, I am desperate to read this. I need to find somewhere to sit down that's out of the way. So I went to the shoe section, and you know, they have like little stools everywhere so people can sit down and try on the shoes, and it was quiet. It was really early in the morning, so I just sat down and was reading my book in the supermarket until my mum came back for me. I was desperate to read it. I was addicted to them. These books were so good. So because I was basically addicted to them, I did not buy Bitter Blue, the third book, until I finished my PhD, because I did slightly fall behind on my work. I know, I'm a terrible person. So what are the Graceling Realm books? Why are they so good? And why does no one talk about them? So let's go with number one first. So the Graceling books have basically like a very kind of like medieval type setting. There's kings, queens, lords, ladies, courts, stuff like that. And other than that, it's pretty normal in terms of medieval setting. However, apart from one main conceit, and that some people in the world are born with their eyes two colours. And at this point you're probably like, okay, so heterochromia exists in this world. Big deal. No. Well, yes, but no. In the world of Graceling, otherwise known as the Seven Kingdoms, being born with two different colour irises means you possess a skill in which you are an innate expert at. You don't have to practice, you are just born being an expert, being the absolute best at that skill. However, you have no idea what that skill is. The eye colours doesn't give you any indication of what it could be. It literally can be anything, and it can also be useless, such as you're an expert in skipping stones, which who's that going to help realistically? No one. However, if it can be useless, it can also, some skills can be extremely useful. So for example, the main character of Graceling, Cashore, has a special skill of killing people. It's a fun time. However, luck would have it, she is the prince's cousin and her uncle, the king of that kingdom. There's more than one kingdom, obviously, 7 kingdoms. Basically, he makes her his assassin, which, you know, makes sense. I probably do the same thing. Nice and convenient, keep it in the family. However, you know, having a grace of being really good at killing people is going to mentally take its toll on you. Not surprising, you know, like she feels like she is a monster at some points. So Cashore spends a great deal of the novel struggling with who she really is versus who she's been told she is, like who she's been raised to be. Like she's basically been raised to be like a killing machine. So she's grappling with all of that whilst also falling in love, because as I said, this is romantasy, not just fantasy, romantasy, and all the love stories in these books are the absolute best, and there are different leads in each book, so there is also a love story to go along with each of them. So I won't tell you who they end up falling in love with, but Graceling's main character is Cashore, then we have Fire, and the main character is Fire. And then Bitterblue, again the main character is Bitterblue. Winterkeep is a little bit different. There's like a split perspective between Gideon, Bitterblue, Haver and a couple of other brand new characters, and then Sea Sparrow is mainly narrated by Haver. But basically in all of them there is some overarching plots with a main narrator character who also has a love story. And often with series like these, personally, I can be put off by some of them because sometimes the writing quality just isn't there for all of them, and as a result I end up not liking a certain protagonist as much as the other ones. But honestly, I do genuinely think the quality for every single book in the Graceling Realm series is just absolutely amazing. There are definitely ones I prefer over the others, but that just comes down to my personal preference, not because I think some of the books are written badly. It's a lot like the Hunger Games. I think all 5 of the Hunger Games books have the absolute same writing quality. I think quality-wise they're all absolutely amazing. They're all 5-star books for me, the same way this series is, all 5 stars. But like my ranking of the Hunger Games books comes down to just like personal preference, which one I enjoyed the most, you know? So same here, like they are all absolutely amazing. So it has amazing love stories, amazing characters, even the bad ones, they are so compelling, so well characterized, and the plots, I absolutely love the plots of these. And the reason I like it is because they definitely are a little bit political. If you didn't know, I love politics. Is one reason why I really enjoyed the Mistborn trilogy, because especially the second one, which is my favourite, that's very, very political, so I really enjoyed it. And there's also magic entwined with the politics, the magic of this world. I would definitely say the last 2, Sea Sparrow and Winterkeep, are the most political. The first 2, Graceling and Fire, aren't super political, but it's definitely there. And then Bitterblue is definitely more like political espionage, as I really enjoyed Bitterblue. So we've answered what the Graceling Realm books are and why they're so good, but now why does no one talk about them? And I think the reason is because, and I don't necessarily think this is a bad thing, but it's basically there is no spice in these books, which I think is great. Again, not to like talk down on people who like spice, because I love spice, don't get me wrong. However, not everyone actually wants to read that. And I definitely feel a lot of fantasy books, particularly romantasy books, do have spicy scenes in them, which is great, which is wonderful. I love that we're breaking the stigma around spice scenes. However, not everyone still wants to read it. A lot of people feel uncomfortable about them, which is fine, that's their personal preference. However, I feel like a lot of people who are leading the conversation around romantasy books are definitely going forward with spice books being at like the top of their lists. And whilst, don't get me wrong, there are romantic relationships and it is heavily implied what each of these characters do with their significant other in these books, there are no actual scenes of spice. So even though these books are absolutely excellent, I definitely do actually think that's the reason why people don't really talk about them, sadly. But anyway, now we are going to get into my ranking of the books. So like I said, these are all 5-star reads to me. None of them are bad. This is just like my personal preference. So in last place, in 5th, I would say my least favourite is Sea Sparrow. Like, I really enjoyed it. It was great, just not my favourite. Then I'd say it's the 4th book, Winterkeep. Then after that, we're gonna go in 3rd place with Fire. It's set kind of like somewhere like a little bit different in comparison to the other ones, but like it all eventually makes sense. Then in 2nd place is the first one, Graceling, and then in 1st place definitely has to be Bitter Blue. Like I said, this one's kind of like political espionage. So I really love stuff like this, so I really enjoyed it. There's also like a lot of puzzles and ciphers in this one. I just randomly opened it like this, so it's really interesting, really cool. But yeah, you should absolutely read these books. They are amazing, especially if you like romantasy but you're not always keen on spice. And like, there's nothing against spice in books, romantasy or otherwise. I like it, but I know not everyone else does, so I love that there is this amazing option for people who still want to read fantasy, who still love romance, but aren't necessarily always looking for spicy books. So I think these are absolutely amazing, and the love stories and the plot and the characters and relationships overall are just absolutely amazing. So I would love to know what you think of this, if you're going to pick these books up and give them a try because they're so good, or if you have already read one of them, because oh my god, they are amazing. So let us know what you think of this, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!